Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of the Chronicles of Hollywood History, Past, Present, and Future. This is your host, Corey, and today I am joined by acting legend Don Stroud. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm real good. I'm sitting here in Hawaii, in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's a beautiful day. I'm ready to go. The first thing I think you want to know about how I got started in show business.
That is exactly what I want to know first.
Great. Well, I'm from Hawaii, and my folks had a little nightclub here when I was like 10 years old, and we lived on Beach Walk, which is a little community. In my days, Hawaii was just a small town. It was just the Royal Hawaiian, the Moana Hotel, the Outrigger Canoe Club, and stuff was quite different. All the major buildings, if people know what Waikiki looked like, were not there at all. So I was 11 years old when I came down the beach, and first thing I met was this monster Hawaiian named Steamboat. He had a 42-foot koa canoe in front of the Royal Hawaiian. And then I met Blackout Whaley and Rabbit Kai, Jama Kai, Bud Warner, Watanabe, Bobby and Choi, Dookie. Now, these guys may not sound familiar to a lot of people, but they were the famous Beach Boys of Waikiki. They were all quite a bit older than me, but they took me under their wing, and I surfed Waikiki. I started surfing when I was 10 years old, and it was just the greatest days in the world. In the wintertime, Hawaii was very quiet, and it was the summertime where the co-eds came over, and all the school teachers and all the kids. It was just incredible times, a lot of music. I mean, it was the days where you sit in the coconut tree with the ukulele and the girl was dancing in the full moon. I mean, those were the days of my younger days. It was just incredible. But Waikiki was where I grew up, and I stayed on the beach till I was just out of high school. I got to teach surfing. I was a surfing instructor. And how I got into the business was actually, they started a show named Hawaiian Eye with Troy Donahue and Connie Stevens and Bob Conrad. And they asked me if I could surf. Well, at that time, I was fourth in the world junior championship. The championship was the Duke Honolulu Championship at a place called Makaha. It's not the north side of Hawaii. Oahu. It's the west side. The waves get pretty big there. But I came in fourth in the world, and it was one of my proud moments in life. And they asked me if I could surf. I said, well, of course I could surf. I was a pretty good surfer then. So I started juggling for Troy Donahue. I was his stuntman in a show called Hawaiian Eye. Now, this is probably before you're done. Not Hawaii 5-0, Hawaiian Eye. And Troy then asked me if I wanted to come to Hollywood. And I loved the scene of it all. I just loved the camera. I loved being there. And Troy and Connie Stevens and Susan Bichette was in the show that year too, and it was great to meet them. They said, "Why don't you come to Hollywood and give it a shot?" Well, I did, and I ended up working at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go on the Sunset Strip. Now we're talking about, this place was jamming, man. It was the Doors, the Leaves, the Buffalo Springfield, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead. It went on and on and on about the people that, the players that worked there. It was just an incredible place. It was on the Sunset Strip. In those days, the strip was jamming. And I was a bouncer for a while, and then I became assistant manager. And it was great times. And Sidney Poitier came in one night, one of my favorite actors. We had the Beatles used to come in there, the Rolling Stones, the Queen of England. I mean, everybody used to come to the Whiskey Go-Go. It was just world famous. And I told Sidney that I'd like to try some acting. And he said, why don't you do it? Meet my friend named Dick Clayton, one of the famous agents in Hollywood. He had Burt Reynolds, he had Al Pacino, and I think he had Dustin Hoffman. And he took me on. And I started... I had a contract at Universal. They paid me like $500 a week, and it was just great times. The Virginian, Marcus Welby, Name of the Game, all those great shows. So that was the rookie part of my career.
Well, you acted you had extensive TV and film, and, in the early days of film, you got to be in a lot of those classic exploitation films like Bloody Mama, Angel Unchained. You were even, if my memory serves, you were also in Jim Brown's big exploitation film, Slaughter's Big Ripoff, correct?
Slaughter's Big Ripoff. Jim Brown was a great friend of mine. Those were good films. Bloody Mama was a great film. Bruce Dern, Robert De Niro, myself, Shelley Winters. It was a great film. It was Roger Corman's film. I worked for him a lot. I did a film called Von Richthofen and Brown with him that came out pretty good, too. But Bloody Mama, are you still there?
I am. I love Bloody Mama. I've had a crush on. I had a crush on Shelley Winters when I was young.
Well, Shelley and I were pretty close friends. We became buddies, and the first real great television show I did was the Bob Hope Chrysler Theater. Now, this is all before a lot of people's times here. And I walked in the room, and Shelley said, "Oh, he'll do." So it was a great part. I think on the Beach Boy, which was the best part about it. It was a movie for television, and we became the best of friends. And they said, the teacher came up and said, "Could you drive Shelley home this afternoon? She needs a ride," just like she needed a ride. So we ended up in my 49 Ford in Laurel Canyon. I lived in Laurel Canyon with, the birds lived across the street. Buffalo Springfield was there. Canned Heat. Incredible place, Laurel Canyon. Did you see the movie Laurel Canyon?
I did.
Oh, I love that movie. I lived right over there, right by the store. I lived there for years. And I lived on Lookout Mountain. And Janis Joplin, everybody lived there. It was quite a neighborhood. And I hung out there for quite a few years. And I started doing show after show after show. And things got pretty good. But there wasn't a lot of money in those days. If I made the money they make now, I would be a very rich man. But I did very well because I worked so much. I did over 100 films, over 200 television shows. In those days, that was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you were in all the greats, A-Team, The Fall Guy, Quantum Leap, Baywatch. I mean, you've been in every show out there. The Hulk, yes.
But my favorite was coming back to Hawaii and doing Hawaii 5-0. I did 5 shows out of 12 years. Jack Lord and I were best of friends, and I had great parts. I got to stay at the Kahala Hilton, where when I was a kid, I lived right down the street from the Kahala Hilton, not realizing years later I would be doing films, and I had the lead parts in these shows. Great parts, and Hawaii 5-0. And it just started from there.
Did you prefer doing movie or television?
Well, I think that was one of your questions on there. Television is a complete different world from making movies is a complete different world from making television. Movies, you can sort of take your time and do a few things and try some things and rehearse. Television, you got to get it done that day. There's no coming back tomorrow to finish the scene. It's a time you're on. You must know your lines. You must do your work. And it's done much faster. Sometime in television, we'll shoot 10, 12 pages a day. In a movie, you might shoot one scene a day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the difference is quite a bit of difference. It's just kind of a different world. I know you asked me about Tarantino. We'll leave that for now. Did you have some other questions about some other things?
Yeah. What was it like? You had that big, long run on Mike Hammer. What was that like for you?
Which one? Say it again.
Mike Hammer, the TV show.
Oh, I love that. Stacy Keach, my dear brother. That's one of the first good guys I played. If you look at my career, I played a bunch of psychopaths.
You did.
Crazy drug addicts. I don't know why. I mean, I guess because I played some crazy parts, Coogan's Bluff, with all those great shows with Clint Eastwood, Joe Kidd. But it was great. But Hawaii 5-0. Where were we? Hawaii 5-0?
Mike Hammer.
Oh, yeah, the Mike Hammer. Well, Captain Chambers was just a clean, great part. And then, unfortunately, I don't know if you know the story, but he got arrested for cocaine. But he went over to Linden, and we were making mucho dollars a week, all of us. We were doing great. The show was number 2. Golden Girls was our competition. That was number 1, and we were number 2. So sometimes a show, when you're against Golden Girls or something like that, you'll go on for years. We did 3 years, and then he got busted, and it just really fell apart. Fortunately, I got into a show, a half an hour, I think, called Gidget, and I played the Kahuna, which was just a great part. I got to surf, and I got up in the morning and put on my shorts and grabbed my board and went to work. And I hung out on the beach all day and stuff. But my camera was a good part for me, and the residuals. I've been getting residuals on it for years, so it's still playing out there. But Stacy was a dear friend, and you know what happened with that show in the beginning? We had all the girls, a lot of boob shots, a lot of low cut dresses, a lot of legs, and CBS had some complaints about it. So we had to cool it down a little bit. We had to cool the whole show down. Nowadays, that would be a laugh to say that we got to kind of too much cleavage. So, but we got into that bag, but we got it done. But unfortunately, we had some problems with, Stacy and stuff. But he got through it. He's working all the time. He's a great friend of mine, and lives in Malibu. We lived in Malibu together, and they were really great days doing that show.
Now, I remember you, too, as a horror fan. You were Father Bolin in the Amityville Horror back in '79. Did you ever think when you made that movie that all these years later, people would still be into it? It'd be a classic, scaring people to this day?
I got to tell you something. That show is playing on TV now.
Yeah, it's always on.
It's on TV now. This was 100 years ago. And it was a decent film. I did many interviews at Merv Griffin and all those great talk shows when I was young. And Amityville Horror was just great. Made a fortune money. But it was fun to play the priest, It was a simple part for me, but I'm sure glad I was in that film. That was a great film to be in. It's like James Bond. I'm so glad I was in James Bond film because of the credit. For an actor to do James Bond is very special, Mm-hmm. But Amityville Horror held up. It was fun playing the part. Rod Steiger, Jimmy Volan, who married our girl, and Margot Kidder. So we had a lot of fun. We shot in New Jersey, and I don't think anyone thought the film would be as great as it was, but it was pretty spooky and fun and Halloween kind of stuff,
I won't lie to you. I like Slaughter's Big Ripoff better.
Well, yeah, that was kind of I had a great part. There's what I talk about a psychopath when I was in the pool, like Rob the Kid in the pool and all that.
No, I'm a huge fan of that. I liked all of Jim Brown's movies. I thought he was a great screen presence. I got a kick out of that whole blaxploitation. I hate the term, but I got a big kick out of that run. I collect them, I have books on them and everything. They're some of my favorite movies since I was a kid. Still watch them to this day.
Did you ever see the other one I did with James Brown called Tick, Tick, Tick?
Tick, I did. I have it here somewhere.
That was a good movie. He became the black sheriff of a town, and I had a great part in that. Jim and I had some good fight scenes, but I wanted to really fight with Jim. But my part, they wanted me just to get beat up. But we had some great fight scenes and stuff. And like I say, he was my buddy, and I said, we're out there in, I don't know where we were, some strange town or something like that. And I said, Jim, I'm going to run to the store. Can I get you anything? He said, yeah, give me a fifth of VO.
Hey, George Kennedy was in that one, too, I remember.
Oh, yeah. That's the old days. That was Universal days and stuff. And, did you ever see Choir Boys?
That one doesn't ring a bell.
Well, it was a film that was Jimmy Woods was in it, Charlie During, Burt Reynolds. Just what a cast we had. Wasn't one of my favorite films. The book by Joseph Wambaugh was brilliant. He wrote The Onion Field also, which was a great cop movie.
Yeah, that's a really good
one. Boys, the book was brilliant. And the film kind of didn't come out as well. We should have shot it out in the streets and really showed what the cops were all about. We kind of ended up in the back lot, and it just got kind of phony.
I do remember the Buddy Holly story with the very young Gary Busey.
Oh, what great fun that was. I'm a drummer. I've always been a frustrated drummer, so we really played all that music. That was us playing. I remember sitting there for hours and hours on the stage a month before the part and just playing drums for hours and hours and hours. I'd get up in the morning, go down to the studio, get behind the drums, and just play and play and play. And it was great fun because like Willie Nelson came to the premiere, and all the great cowboys, the singers, all the entertainers were down in Texas, down in Lubbock, Texas. And it was one of the great fun movies of all time because we became a little band. We hung out, became a band, and those days we did some drinking and a few other little things, but we all hung out and had a great time, and the movie made a fortune. The movie only cost $1 million. The movie made like maybe $20 million or something. I mean, so outrageous amount of money, for those days.
How was Busey back then when he was younger?
Busey is what he is. He's my buddy, and I know he's a little screwy, but I think that's his game, and it's making it work for him. And he's just Gary Busey, man. What can I say? Charlie Martin Smith was very good too. Very
that's
good.
What I was
Those kids that directed that and produced that, that's the first thing they ever did. They made some good money on that.
That was my question. I've always never believed Gary Busey was insane. I just believe it's kind of a party plays that, keeps him out there nowadays. I don't know if that's a true statement or not. That's what I've always kind of thought.
Whatever gets you through the night.
That's right.
Whatever gets you through the night. It's like when I started playing all these crazy, crazy people, I mean, I said, go with this, man. I never stop working. If I would have waited to play leading men and doctors and lawyers, that's not who I am. I could probably fake that, but the other stuff just kind of came easy.
You had a great part in Armed and Dangerous, and I mean, you got to be there with Eugene Levy, John Candy, Robert Loggia. I mean, it was a comedy, but that had a great cast in it.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Keach, Stacey Keach's brother, directed that, and it was a fun movie. John Candy was a gas, man. Just a gas. I think one of the nicest guys in the world, John Candy. When he died, I felt just terrible when he died because we all become friendly and really hung out for a while. That was a lot of fun. We shot that film down on Hollywood Boulevard, which was a kick too. Having hundreds of people watch you doing your scenes at night and stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
And then, like you said, you did License to Kill, Timothy Dalton, Robert Davi, and that was really good. Why do you think that Dalton, most Bonds get 4 to 6 films? Why do you think Timothy Dalton only did the 2? Because he did a really good job.
I've always asked myself that too. I really don't have an answer for you on that. I don't know, but I thought the film was decent. It was Robert Davi was great. I thought I had a real good part in there, and there was some other up-and-coming actors in there that did really well too. But here's another film. It was great down there. We were down in Mexico at Acapulco. We were down in Mexico City, and Acapulco was a gas. We did a lot of fun things down there, But Timothy Dalton, it's a hard one to say because I don't know. We all lost contact. We were in London, and I was in New York at that time, and things were quite different. But I'm surprised you didn't do a couple more.
Now, I'm going to name one of my favorite movies of yours that I bet no one asks you about. And I'm talking about the classic 1990 Lauren Avedon King of the Kickboxers film.
Well, that was. Did we shoot that in Singapore or something like that?
Yeah, somewhere in Thailand or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I met Billy Banks, one of the great kickboxers in the world. That was fun.
I love Billy.
It was an experience going over there. I've never been around that part of the world, and since then I've been with films in Manila and all over. But that was a great experience going over there. I don't know if the film did that well or anything. It might have, but. I think the experience was just going over there. Like Bob Conrad and I did a couple of films in Manila. It was pretty good years ago after that. So I started ending up over that part of the world doing films. They do a lot of films over there.
Well, King of the Kickboxers is, nowadays that's a cult classic. It just got a big collector edition Blu-ray release over there in Germany. I picked it up, and it's the only film you're going to see Billy Blanks play a bad guy in. So it's a pretty noticeable piece of history.
Yeah. Go. It's good. It's in Blu-ray now. Good. I'll make some residuals.
Yeah. I bought one. I mean, it looks nice. It looks better than it did when I saw it originally.
Yeah. It's a shame now. The movie business is really, really hurting right now. They're trying to get films back together, and people are losing their insurance, and a lot of things happening with SAG right now. They lost, I think, $84 million this year on just insurance for people and stuff. That's really something. I was very lucky. When I came to the business in 1960, residuals just started. So people before the 60s, they didn't get residuals. And I came in right around 1961 or something like that, or 62. You got residuals. So I still get residuals from shows like Well, even the Hulk, we were talking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Simon and Simon, 20 years ago. A-Team, easy 20, 25 years ago, you know. And it's nice that actors, you know, have that extra money come in. But I don't know what the future is for SAG with this damn virus. So where are you calling from?
I'm in Nebraska.
Nebraska. How's the virus over there?
We are a hot spot now because people are selfish and they won't wear a mask.
Yeah, I know what you mean. See, we're in and out. We're okay today, but they're going to open up the tourists. See, I went down to Waikiki the other day at Kalakaua. That's the main drag in Waikiki. There was not one person on the street. Now, we're used to seeing crowds like New York City in Waikiki. It's just bumper to bumper people. The hotels are packed and the bars are open. It's you know, Hawaii's a fun town. It's a party town. And nothing. It's all closed up and stuff. But I'm sure hoping for better days because my wife and I, we've been laying real low. You know, I'm an Elks Club member, and that's been closed for years, so I haven't been doing much. So we're getting off the subject now. What else did you have about movies?
Well, I am curious. Do you have any memories of Frogtown 2?
What is it?
Frogtown 2.
Oh, those
with
are...
Lou Ferrigno and the great Brian James.
Those are shows just for money. They were so silly, some of those shit. Those shows were, you know, we did them for money. You know what I mean? I don't think they were, I don't know what to say about those shows, but it was fun doing them. They're probably all becoming Blu-ray again, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, I've got Frogtown 1 and 2. I've always liked those. It's mutant frogs. What's not to like? Jetpack Rangers? Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know what's nice? I've basically retired, you know what I mean? Well, Quentin Tarantino calls me up. I said, who's this? Only my favorite director in the world. So would you like to be in my film? He said, it's not a very big part. I said, what time does the plane leave? Django was the greatest experience in meeting Quentin. We become such great friends. He says, I broke my leg about 8 months ago, so it's been kind of tough for me. But he says he wanted me to be in his last film, and I would love to do another film with him. You know, everybody has like a small part, but a great part. Now, here's a show that played everywhere in the world, in world. And Quentin Tarantino is one of the sharpest. He's constantly thinking. He says, just be real. That's why his films are so real. Being on the set was like really being in the cowboy days for some reason, because the film and the crew and the cameramen were just so professional and so wonderful. I mean, he knows how to make movies. As I say, how to make movies. And you feel it's real when it's kind of happening. And I thought it was a pretty good film. Made a fortune.
Oh, I loved it. When my son was 10, he asked me about it, and I said, well, I'm going to let you watch it, but there's going to be no repeating any of this dialogue. And, I mean, even he liked it. I mean, it's a long movie, but, I mean, it's such a good movie. All the acting, everyone, top to bottom, was phenomenal in it.
Oh, that's so going on. Hang on a second.
Sure.
Yeah. Are you there?
I am.
Oh, good. My cell phone went off. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, I think we've covered quite a few things. Any other questions you need to know and stuff?
No, I mean, I guess my only question is, what would a comparison, because you've done it all, what was it like, you know, because you did, like, we'll say the early days, the exploitation days, and then now Tarantino, how much has filmmaking changed over the years?
Well, don't forget, they had, like, the steady cam. Like in Buddy Holly, the first time that the guy put on roller skates and had the camera and skated around the room with us and all that kind of stuff. The camera work and the difference in sound and camera and editing and directing. I think it's quite different. It was a lot simpler then. There was a lot of rules in those days. You know, certain films you had to kind of watch what you said, and it was quite different, quite different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you've entertained not only me, but everyone listening for years and years. You know, I hope you do pop up in Tarantino's last film, because he's saying the last one he does, whatever that'll be, is going to be the last one. You know, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot.
Well, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun talking to you. Is there any other questions you need?
No, I mean, I hope one day down the road, maybe we can do this again. Maybe talk about your turn on the criminally underrated Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. TV show.
God, you know all those shows, don't you?
I own all of them. That's what's really scary.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, I almost forgot about those shows. See, I did 100 films and over 150 television shows. That's quite a record. And people say, what's your favorite thing and all that? I think my favorite thing is to be invited back by the same director.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Hawaii Five-0, he invited me back 3 times, the same director, and Jack Lord, of course. And they want you back in their films, like when I did Coogan's Bluff with Don Siegel. And then he hired me for a film called Madigan with Richard Widmark. Mm-hmm. Good film. It's the old days, so we're talking about the old days, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think that was the best part of my career, being invited back to the same company and doing another film with them, and it worked.
Do you have a favorite film out of all the ones you've done?
Well, like I say, I think my favorite is my record doing that much work, because when I was out of work was not a good time in my life. I was not a happy man. Those days, a lot of drinking and a lot of partying and stuff. So when I was working, it was better for me in my life. You know. But as far as my favorite, a whole bunch of them, you know, even Bloody Mama and James Bond and Django and Coogan's Bluff. Did you ever see Coogan's Bluff?
I have.
Oh, good film. And Joe Kidd and Tick, Tick, Tick. And, you know, I did some nice film. Amityville Horror. Stuff like that. And Bloody Mama. I mean, God, I've lost track of a lot of them, you know?
You know, my wife had never seen the TV show L.A. Heat, so I started showing them to her. And lo and behold, you popped up on one of those that we were watching the other night.
God, I did one of those too, didn't I?
Fantastic show. One of the best action shows in television, in my opinion.
Well, even Simon and Simon was good.
Simon Simon was very good.
And MacGyver and all those shows. Those were good shows. Those were good shows.
You were on a Renegade with my buddy Branscombe Richmond.
Oh, he's my good friend. That was with Renegades.
Yep, him and Kathleen Kidmont, Lorenzo, all three of them are great people.
And you know what was another good show? Streets of San Francisco.
Yes, it was.
That was a good show. I had some great parts in that show. Ida Lupino, if people remember Ida Lupino, she directed that show. Good gal. So I think she's lucky, but it's a long time ago, you know.
Oh, yeah, everything. The Fall Guy, Fantasy Island, the A-Team. I saw you in a couple A-Teams.
Oh, Fantasy Island was a lot of fun, too. I did that show a couple times. That was a great show.
It was. Terrible movie, but a great show.
Yeah. See what you're saying about the difference in time. That show wouldn't work now.
No.
It might, but it was just kind of almost a little corny in the back lot and stuff. But in those days, it was great. Just like Marcus Welby and those shows in the Virginian, and Rock Hudson had a show then. Like, just was all these shows were on there, you know, and this went from show to show to show.
You had a Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, Dukes, what a great fun that show was. I did that a couple of times, yeah.
I think if they redid that, the car would be different nowadays.
Yeah, it would be a different deal. So there you go. Your answer is between now and then.
Yeah.
It was really quite different. You know, the acting was a little different and just different.
It was more fun back then, if that makes sense. To me, watching at home, it was more fun.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we had a nice interview.
We did. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. And if you need to call me again about some things, let me know. I'm here.